On this episode of Carnage, it appears I have stuffed something up with Supermang. So before we get into today's episode, I want to welcome our new sponsors, Kempi, or as they say in Finland, Kempi. So it is a Finnish company, been around 75 years, family-owned company from day dot and still is, and they make some of the best welders in the world. So we've got Stu here from Kempi. He's going to run us through some of the functionality on our MIG and our TIG. We'll start off with the MIG here, we'll power it up. They both run off 15 amps, so that's just something you need to be aware of, but yeah, we've got a 15 amp lead here. Now, Stu, you were saying that while it does have manual settings, the auto functionality on this is so great.
So versatile, yeah. You'll really never have to come off your manual setting to get onto it. You've got all your different wire sizes, your gas mixtures from mild steel, stainless steel, aluminium and silicon bronze. You've got a vast majority of wires that you can use it for.
Not just limited to mild steel, so you can do aluminium, you can do stainless, silicon bronze, as you were saying as well. And then obviously, yeah, we've got two dials here. We basically adjust the thickness there, so material thickness, and then over here you can adjust what your whirlpool is going to look like. And it doesn't get any easier than that, really. So, I mean, I just love modern welders. Back in the day, it was all amperage and wire speed, and you can do that. You can push the manual button and you can set up amperage and wire speed and just go old school if you want to. But, you know, why would you when you can just set up your material thickness? So right there, we're at 2 mil thick, you know, adjust where the whirlpools or what it's going to look like in the fillet, and away you go. Simple as that. It even gives you recommendations on your wire thickness and that sort of thing. And then when you put it in there, it'll sense what the thickness is and what it needs to do with that. So yeah, that is pretty amazing. I love your MIG torch here and this little accessory where you can put this on there and you got, you know, a different shape there for the gun. So that way, sometimes you're in situations where a typical posture isn't helpful to you. This might be something that you can work with better and more comfortable for your hand, but easy to pull on and off. That is just brilliant.
Nice and simple. Makes it a lot easier for getting into some of those other positions with that rotatable neck too. So maybe some overheads, lying underneath a car, makes it a lot easier, less strain on your neck.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Wow, that is amazing. So there we go. We've got the MIG there. We haven't got any wire with us today, so we're not going to be firing it up, but still, that is going to be a handy little machine for us. We can crank the material thickness right up to 5 mil if we want to. I mean, it's pretty rare that we'd want anything that thick with what we do. Yeah, 2 to 3 mil is where we're going to be doing most of our welding. So that's going to be a great little unit for the Carnage workshop. So we've also got the TIG here, and TIG is definitely my weakness when it comes to welding. I'm still definitely very much a newbie, but hopefully with this machine, I'm going to try and upskill a bit. I'm going to get some of our friends to help me learn some of this stuff, but just the functions you've already shown me on the machine, it looks amazing. I love the Bluetooth pedal. I mean, no cables.
No cables, no. You got a range of, I think, 50 meters. I mean, your TIG torch in this occasion is only 8 meters long, so you won't be 50 meters away, but if it was to get to that point, you do have that range.
Wow. And then of course, all of the adjustment is, you got 2 buttons and a knob basically to adjust through all the different settings.
When we're welding, we just have this dial here to turn our amps up and down basically.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We can see everything that we've got on the screen, so we can see what channel we're on, what trigger mode, and our current types. We're on DC negative here. Some of the main sort of key points of this one is this function here called Weld Assist. Yeah. So if we hit our menu button, come over to it, from here we can choose our material. So FE, which is our iron, stainless steel or aluminium. You said you're going to be doing mostly aluminium with this, Scotty?
Aluminium and stainless will be mainly for us for TIG.
We'll go ahead and go into aluminium. from here we choose all about thickness of the material. We've got plenty of option there.
Yep.
Mostly what you'll be doing,
2
about
mil.
2 mil.
Yep.
And then our joint types, we've got butt joint, outside corner, edge joint, all of them there.
Tube.
What we're going to be doing is tube
Yep.
joint for this. And then again, all your different positions. So plenty of options there to choose from. Let's say we're doing that position in the horizontal. So from here, we've got all of our recommended settings. So AC, 81 amps, gas flow, tungsten, and filler material recommendations too. So we can hit apply, and that's going to save that all to channel 1. So everything that we just set up there is ready to go on the press of a trigger.
Yeah, wow. That is amazing. So we can just save that, and as be our go-to setting for if we know we're going to weld a tube, aluminium, go to the settings, set it up, number 1, bang, it's done. You know, and we can preset settings for stainless or whatever for, you know, when we want to do that. So we can just, our go-to jobs, we can have them preset up and just basically push the button, turn the knob, set it to that setting, and all the presets are all there. That is brilliant. So yeah, we've got gloves there, we've got the pedal, like you said, amazing range, and we've got some consumables. I mean, I'm actually really excited about learning some TIG stuff, but what an impressive machine. And then we've got the trolley there as well for it. So I've got to say, thank you for coming on board. You've given us some great toys to play with, and we're going to see some, some amazing fabrication coming out of the Carnage workshop in the next 12 months or more.
Absolutely, mate. We look forward to it, and we're more than happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. So after the massive rush to get this engine into Supermang, on the last day of filming and when we got the video done, I was actually quite crook and pushed through. On the Friday, I was even worse, so I took the day off, and then I couldn't taste anything, so I went, okay, let's do a COVID test. It turns out, yep, Scotty's got COVID. And same with my wife, my daughter, my son, all of us for the very first time. And so yeah, corporate responsibility being what it is, and that means I couldn't come to work and do things. So we missed out on a proper Carnage video last week. But now we're back in the Carnage workshop. I'm all better, well, mostly 95%. It's all good. Anyway, back in the workshop, and I'm getting Supermang together. I've got the pipes on, I've got everything, got the front on the motor, everything is in, ready to go. And I was getting ready to, I was doing the bolts on the converter and turning the engine over to line up the converter bolts. And as I was turning the engine over, it went clonk. And I'm like, oh, it shouldn't be doing that. Not at all. So I turned it back the other way until it went clonk, and now I'm doubly worried. Something is causing interference inside the engine. Now I haven't hit the key yet or done anything silly like that. It's got oil in the engine. I haven't put spark plugs in it because what I was going to do was run it up on the starter motor with no spark plugs in it just to circulate the oil through the system. And then we were going to put the plugs in, leads on, fire it up. So we're that close, literally. It needs radiator hoses, thermofan, and the power steering reservoir. I mean, I've already taken had the belts on it and everything. I've taken the belts off because I wanted to eliminate all this stuff, making sure none of these things were stopping the belt from turning. And it's not, you know, supercharger spins free, everything spins free. It is something inside the engine. So it can be one of two things. It's the crank hitting something from the longer stroke, or it's the piston hitting something, which means piston to valve clearance. And I'll freely admit, I did not check piston to valve clearance. I really hope that is not the case. It has dish pistons in it. I thought, it's got dish pistons, it'll be fine. I don't even have to measure it, you know. Made a stupid assumption. And again, I don't even know if that's the problem yet, but we can find out. So that is my mission right now. Let's find out if it's piston or valve clearance. And the easy way to find that out is remove the rockers. We pull the rockers off, and if the engine spins over freely, we know it's piston or valve clearance. If we remove the rockers and the engine still locks up, we know it's the crank hitting the sump, which is actually what I'm hoping it is, because that is a lot easier to fix than piston or valve. If it's piston or valve clearance, we either have to put recesses in the top of the pistons or change the camshaft to something with less lift. But yeah, either way is a serious dive into the engine. Either way, the engine's going to have to come out, let's face it, because if it's the sump, the engine has to come out. If it's piston valve, the engine's definitely got to come out and then come apart. But if it's the sump would be best case scenario at this point. And I've got to say, I feel really stupid and shit about the situation, to be honest. I haven't had this happen to an engine ever. So, yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing, to be honest. So anyway, I'll get these leads out of the way. And then we'll get the rocker covers off and see what's happening. Okay, now we find out if the news is really bad or just bad. Yeah. Well, there's an answer. It's not piston or valve. All the valves are closed. So if I rotate it back that far, okay, rotate it forward, clonk. So there's our answer, not piston or valve, although now I feel like I should check that, but it's obviously not the problem. It's not piston or valve. Obviously, the crank is hitting the sump. We have some interference inside that engine in the sump region. And I kind of thought we'd sent, well actually we sent that sump. Let's have a look at that. So that sump on the engine is the sump that was on the old engine in the car. So I reused that because it had the oil drain back for the turbo. So this is the sump. I think we sent this to the machine shop when we had the stroker in there for them to check. But this doesn't appear to have any clearancing on it. But also it looks a little bit different. It's got this groove in it, which the other sump does not. I wonder if this sump clears and that sump doesn't. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever the answer, I'm going to have to pull that engine out now and clearance the sump or work out what the hell is happening in there. It's obviously not piston or valve, which is that could have been real bad. Piston and valve would have sucked. But being that it's probably just the sump, not so bad. We can work with that. But yeah, engine still has to come out, which also sucks. Which leads me to what's going to happen next. Obviously, engine has to come out, but it's not going to come out today because I'm in the middle of a massive workshop clearance, cleanup, and that's what I was supposed to be doing, and that's why I was trying to get the car going, because I had all these parts on tables, and what's the easiest way of getting all the parts off the tables? Well, put them on the car. So I was going to put them all on the car, get the car going, and that was 2 less tables worth of stuff to clean up. But now I need to pull the whole engine out again, but I still need to clean the workshop because we've got visitors coming and all that sort of thing, new sponsors, which you may have noticed at the start of the video, that this is all happening just before that. So we're a little bit around. But yeah, I need to do a big cleanup. So I'm going to get back into the cleanup, and then we're going to fast forward to next week, timey-wimey stuff, when we're pulling this engine out. All right, well, it is next week and we've done what we needed to do. So let's get this engine out, see what's going on in the bottom end. I think we need to montage the shit out of this. So let's get it done. So after the engine building episode, Clint from New South Wales has sent us this little organising tray for push rods and lifters, which is kind of cool. Looks like it's just 3D printed. That's pretty cool. So we'll use it to organise our push rods. How handy is that? So if you're always struggling with transmission lines, these crow's feet spanners, they are the way to go. Just a little attachment goes on our extension bar there. We can reach up in there, get it around the line and just crack it loose. Once they're loose, they're not too bad, but just getting them started and it's always a nightmare. Much easier with these though. To the rescue. Ta-da! Now we just have to find out what's wrong with it. All right, let's flip her over, pull the sump off, and see what the problem is. All right, so just to double check. Donk. All right, so it goes, stops there, and then we can turn it all the way around to there. Yeah, so it's definitely got to be a crank thing because A, we've got all the rocker gear removed, so all the valves are closed, so it can't be valve to piston. It's definitely got to be the crank hitting something. Alrighty, off you come. I don't know. It doesn't appear to be hitting anything. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to pull the front off, have a look at that. Let's start with that. Pull the front off, see if something's interfering in there. A few people did point out that I wasn't supposed to have the timing chain guide / tensioner with a double row timing chain, but I wouldn't have thought it would stop it from turning over. All right, we'll flip her over and we'll pull the front off and see if we can find out what the hell is going on here. So just from process elimination, I'm going to go through and test Yep, still hitting. All right. So let's just go through and just keep removing bits until we find out where it stops hitting. I have to pull the head off, aren't I? This is going to suck. I just don't get it. I mean, if it was piston to head clearance, it wouldn't make it that far around. Like it'd stop on every piston at top dead center. This is a real mystery. So before we go ripping the heads off, let's just stick a little scope down there and have a look. Make sure there's no foreign bodies in here. I don't know how or why anything like that would happen. I mean, it's not like there's any, you know, a nut or anything sitting on there. way down the bore. Alright, so there's nothing obvious going on in there, like no one snuck in and slipped a nut or a bolt in a spark plug hole or anything like that. So I'm at a loss. So there's two things we can try from here. We can disconnect the timing chain and see if it's a cam issue, or pull the cylinder head off, but I don't see that. There's nothing on top of the pistons. Like, the valves aren't open. We just put a straight edge across the valves. They're fine. I don't understand. Even if it is camshaft interference, it's going to hit somewhere, but camshaft just turned. It just hit the camshaft and spun the camshaft. It's hitting the camshaft. Okay, so we've got a problem. And obviously we need to get a different camshaft. This camshaft is too big to run with a stroker crank. I would have thought there'd be some sort of notation, and maybe I need to go back and check the Mace website and see if there is a notation saying, warning, do not run this cam with a stroker crank. I don't remember ever seeing that, but maybe there is something there. But yeah, we've got a camshaft to crankshaft interference issue. It's not a major problem, but it's enough that it's gonna be a problem. So yeah, we're gonna have to get a smaller lift cam. Maybe we make up for it by putting high ratio rockers in there. So that will give us more lift at the valve, but without the lift at the camshaft causing interference problems with the crank. Maybe that's a solution for us. But yeah, we need to dig in a little bit deeper, get this sorted, order the camshaft, and I guess you're going to see all that on a future episode of Carnage.